I was on a lunch break at the cleaning company I worked for when my phone buzzed. Mom. I sighed. My mom, Claire, never called unless something was wrong. She wasn't the type to ask how I was doing or what I ate for breakfast. If her name showed up on my screen, it meant trouble. And usually, it meant my sister Jess had done something again. I picked up. Hey, Mom. Oh, Justin, how's work? Still cleaning houses? I blinked. That was the first time she'd even acknowledged what I did for a living in years. Yeah, I said slowly. Still cleaning. What's going on? She hesitated, then dropped it. It's your sister. She's in trouble. Again. Of course she was. Jess, my 27-year-old sister, was a professional disaster. I'm 30, and I've been on my own since I was 18. I paid my way through school, worked 2 jobs, and built my life with no help. Meanwhile, Jess floated. One time, she took my car without asking and crashed it while texting. I got a panicked call, and like a fool, I rushed to help. I handled the insurance, paid the deductible, and let it go because she cried and promised to never do it again. Spoiler, she did it again. Then there was the apartment incident. Jess begged me to co-sign. She needed, just a little help, to get on her feet. 3 months later, she stopped paying rent and vanished. The landlord came after me. My credit got wrecked. Jess. She moved back in with Mom and Dad like nothing happened. And every time, I was expected to clean up the mess. I didn't even get a thank you. So no, I didn't feel sympathy this time. I felt exhausted. What happened now? I asked. She took out a loan, Mom said quietly. $43,000. I choked on my sandwich. What? She needed help, to start a boutique. But things didn't go as planned. Now the bank is calling and, well, your dad and I were thinking. I already knew where this was going. You want me to pay it. Silence. Justin, you have a stable job. You don't have a family to take care of. I'm not paying off Jess's debt, I said flatly. She's your sister. Exactly. Not my child. Not my responsibility. She's struggling. She always is, because no one ever lets her face the consequences. You enable her. Don't talk to me like that, Mom snapped. We raised you. I laughed. No, Mom, you had me. I raised myself. She hung up. 2 days later, I got a call from the bank. Apparently, someone tried to put my name down as a guarantor without my permission. I asked for the paperwork, and when I got it, my jaw dropped. My parents had forged my signature. I didn't say anything to them right away. I went to a lawyer first. Then I filed a report. Then I waited. A week later, I showed up at their house. Jess was there, acting like royalty on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Dad barely looked up from the TV. Hey, I said casually. So, funny thing, I got a call from the bank. Mom stiffened. Justin, we were going to talk to you about. I already talked to someone, I said. My lawyer. Jess finally looked up. Wait, what? I dropped a folder on the table. Forgery is a crime. That's your warning. Justin, please don't do this, Mom whispered. I begged you not to get involved with her mess, I said. And now you've dragged me in again. I won't go to the police, if you pay off the loan yourselves. Every last dollar. Jess scoffed. Like they can afford that. Then you better sell something. Dad finally spoke. We didn't mean to hurt you, son. You didn't mean to get caught, I said. I walked out. Weeks later, I heard they sold one of their investment properties to pay off Jess's debt. She moved out. Apparently, this time Mom and Dad told her she was on her own. And me, I went back to my peaceful life. But I never answered another call from them again. Have you ever been treated like the family's problem solver? Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Justin's shoes? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life drama stories. She's reckless, I repeated slowly, my voice tight. She spends money like it's water. And somehow, I'm always the mop. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the phone. Tight, uneven, like she couldn't believe I was saying no. She's your sister, Justin, Mom said sharply. You're supposed to protect her. No, Mom, I replied. I'm her brother, not her bodyguard. And definitely not her bank. I was standing behind the janitor's closet at work, my uniform damp with sweat, holding my phone with one hand and gripping the mop handle with the other like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. She lowered her voice, almost like she thought if she sounded softer, I'd change my mind. She's scared, Justin. These people she owes, they're not just going to forget. We don't know what they'll do. What if they hurt her? I closed my eyes and leaned my head against the cool tiled wall. I'm sorry she's scared, I said quietly. But she wasn't scared when she borrowed that money, was she? She wasn't scared when she spent it on those flashy Instagram trips or when she showed off that new iPhone. That's not fair. No, Mom. What's not fair is that I scrub toilets and clean floors 6 days a week while Jess plays dress up on social media like she's a Kardashian. And now that the fantasy is falling apart, suddenly I'm the villain because I won't clean it up. She went quiet again. For a second, I thought she'd hung up. Then she said, "We just thought you'd do the right thing." I almost laughed, but I was too tired. Mom, if the right thing means letting Jess ruin my life to save hers, then maybe I'm okay being wrong. And I ended the call. That night, my phone didn't ring. No dramatic text messages, no apology, no threats, just silence. But the next day, something else happened. I walked into my tiny apartment and found my younger cousin Noah standing awkwardly outside my door. He was holding a manila envelope and looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Noah," I said, confused. "What are you doing here?" He handed me the envelope without a word. I opened it. Inside were photocopies of loan contracts. Jess's name was right there. So was my name, listed as a co-signer. I stared at it for a few seconds, then looked back up at him. "She forged it," he said quietly. "Your mom, Jess." I overheard them talking. "They figured you'd never know until it was too late." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My ears were ringing. My heart felt like it had dropped straight through the floor. They said if they could just get the money from you fast, it'd blow over and no one would have to know. I slowly folded the papers back up, placed them on the counter, and sat down. They forged my name. My own family tried to frame me for a $43,000 loan. I'll never forget what I did next. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I called my lawyer. Quiet about this kind of stuff, but when he gets involved, it's because they've run out of soft tactics. He called while I was on a break at work, sitting behind the building on an overturned bucket, eating a lukewarm meat pie and checking my phone. "Justin," he said, voice cold and direct. "This thing with your sister, it's serious. She's scared. Your mother is a mess. You're being selfish." I didn't answer right away. He waited. "Selfish," I finally said. "You want to talk about selfish, Dad? Where were you when I worked double shifts just to afford textbooks? When I asked you for help with my tuition and you said, 'You're a man now, figure it out.' Was I selfish for figuring it out on my own? That's not what this is about." "It is," I said. "It's always been about that. You two made it clear a long time ago that I was on my own. I accepted it. So why is it suddenly my job to bail everyone else out now that you need something?" There was silence. Then, his tone shifted. "You make good money. You clean offices for top firms. You don't have a family of your own to worry about. Jess, she's different. She's fragile." I laughed bitterly. "She's not fragile. She's reckless. And she's never been held accountable for anything in her life because you and Mom have always shielded her. I'm done playing that game." "I didn't raise you to be this cold," he said sharply. "No," I said, standing now, fists clenched at my sides, "you didn't raise me at all." I hung up again. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that crawls under your skin and reminds you that the people who should protect you the most will hurt you without flinching if it benefits their favorite child. I didn't hear from any of them for a few days. Then came the knock. I opened my apartment door and froze. Jess. She stood there in a tight black hoodie, dark sunglasses, and jeans too ripped for someone supposedly in debt. She looked thinner, but not exactly, struggling. Still dramatic. Still Jessie. "Can I come in?" she said, her voice soft. I stepped aside but didn't say anything. She walked in like she owned the place, like old times, then turned and gave me a fake smile. "You look good." I leaned against the wall. "Cut to it, Jess." She sighed. Look, I know you're mad. I know I screwed up. But this is bigger than just me owing money now. These guys are serious. They've been following me, and you think dragging me into it will fix everything? I asked. She hesitated, then gave that look she always used to get out of trouble when we were kids. I'm scared, Justin. I crossed my arms. Good. Maybe fear is what'll finally teach you something. Her face hardened. Wow, you've really changed. You used to care. I do care, I said. But not the way you want. I care enough not to let you ruin my life, too. There was a long pause between us. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a check. Made out in my name. Drawn from my account. My jaw tightened. Where did you get this? She looked away. I stared at her. Jess, where did you get this? I had to do something. She blurted. They were threatening me. I told Mom and Dad we had to figure it out. They said you had savings, and you forged a check. My voice cracked with anger. You're my brother. Then act like it. I snatched the check and stormed into the kitchen to grab my phone. This was too far. Abandoned the family in their time of need, and was letting my sister suffer while I sat on piles of money. Piles of money. That one actually made me laugh out loud. I was literally cleaning office toilets 3 nights a week just to pay my bills and keep food in the fridge, and somehow, Mom had turned me into Jeff Bezos in the family WhatsApp group. I only found out because my cousin Noah, yeah, the only one who ever actually listens, sent me screenshots. He texted, just thought you should know what's being said. It's not fair, man. The screenshots hit like a punch. There it was in black and white. Mom ranting about how I'd changed, how I thought I was too good for the family now, and how she didn't know what she did wrong to raise such a cold, ungrateful son. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, just staring at my screen. Not angry, just hollow. Because that was the moment I realized something that hurt way more than I thought it would. They didn't love me, not me they loved. What I gave, what I fixed. What I covered up. And now that I had drawn a line, I was the enemy. Later that night, Noah called again. I shouldn't say this, but I think they're trying to come up with some kind of way to force you into paying, he said. Aunt Claire's talking about seeing a lawyer. I blinked. For what? She said something about you co-signing something a while back. My heart dropped. That old apartment mess with Jess. I hadn't thought about it in years, but if she still had any paperwork from back then, they might be trying to twist it. My mind started racing. What if they were trying to claim I was responsible because I once helped her? Noah, I need you to do me a favor, I said slowly. Anything, man. If you hear anything about Jess, about Mom and Dad meeting with anyone, I need you to tell me. I'm not going down for something I didn't do. Not again. Got it? By the next morning, it got worse. I got a letter, an actual letter slid under my apartment door. No stamp, no envelope, just a folded paper with messy handwriting. It said, you may be able to wash other people's dirt for a living, but you can't wash away your shame. No signature, no return address, just that. I sat down slowly, rereading it, my hands trembling, not from fear, but rage. They were trying to break me. They were trying to humiliate me into giving in. But what they didn't realize was, I'd already lost everything they thought they could take from me. I had no family left to disappoint. So they couldn't control me anymore. And when they played it, I realized just how calculated all of this had been. I was finishing up my night shift at one of the office towers downtown, wiping down glass panels and emptying trash bins. It was almost 1 a.m., and I was dragging my tired feet toward the janitor's room when my phone buzzed again. No name, just a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello, is this Justin? A deep voice asked. Yeah, who's this? There was a short pause. Then the man said, I represent a client. Jess Claire. She's listed you as her financial guarantor. I froze. What? She took out a private loan, he continued calmly. $20,000. The remaining $23,500 came from informal lenders. Apparently, you co-signed on the original documents. My stomach dropped. No, I didn't. I never signed anything. Well, the man said, his voice still infuriatingly smooth, then this will be a legal matter. You may want to speak with a lawyer. I hung up without another word and immediately called Noah. He picked up groggily. Justin, I think Jess forged my name again, I said, pacing now. Someone just called saying I'm her guarantor. This is serious. It's not just her dragging my name into mess, she's trying to ruin me. Noah sat up. I'll find out what I can. I swear. The next morning, I went to the legal aid office near my apartment and showed them the printout of the message I got from the supposed lender. The woman behind the desk looked over it, then shook her head. This isn't a formal debt collection call. It's intimidation, she said. But if what you're saying is true, that someone forged your signature on a loan, we need to get ahead of it. I filed a fraud report. We started gathering every document tied to Jess's past debts and my old credit pulls. Every time I'd helped her. Every time I'd been tricked. It was like going back through a graveyard of bad decisions that weren't even mine. A few days later, Noah came through. Jess has been bragging to some guy she's seeing, he said. Told him she got you listed as her backup plan. She said, and I quote, Justin's too scared to let anything happen to me. He'll fold like he always does. I sat in silence. It wasn't just manipulation anymore. It was betrayal. Intentional. Personal. She counted on me breaking. Just like Mom and Dad had. Like I was a robot they could program, press enough guilt, and I'd spit out money. They didn't just expect me to clean up the mess. They believed I was too weak to walk away. But I was done. That same day, I called my lawyer and gave her every single message, voicemail, and screenshot. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I pressed charges. Fraud. Forgery. Defamation. It wasn't about revenge, it was about self-respect. About drawing a boundary in ink, not just words. I didn't care what the family said anymore. I didn't care about the group chats or the fake tears. Jess was going to learn that actions have consequences. Like I was some emergency savings account with legs. A little tantrum. I repeated slowly, my voice low but shaking. You really think this everything I've done to distance myself, the silence, the boundaries, that it's just me being dramatic? She rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, Justin. You always do this. Act like you're above everyone else, like we're all burdens. All I wanted was help. No, I snapped, stepping forward. What you wanted was access to my money. To my life. You wanted me to clean up your mess without lifting a finger. And when I didn't, you tried to steal from me. Jess turned away, arms crossed, her voice dropping into a fake whimper. You think I haven't been scared every night? That I haven't had people threatening me, banging on my door? You think I wanted to do this? Don't twist this into some sob story, I fired back. You made choices. You took loans. You lied. You dragged Mom and Dad into it and let them fight your battles. You forged my signature twice, and now you tried to hack into my bank account. That's not desperation. That's manipulation. She spun around, now shouting. Because I thought you'd be there for me because they said you would. I went still. There it was again. They said you would. It wasn't just Jess. It never had been. It was Claire and Marshall. It was my parents who set this whole thing up, feeding her lies, convincing her that no matter what she did, I'd always show up with a checkbook and a forced smile. You know what, I said, voice suddenly calm, too calm, I'm pressing charges. Her face dropped. You wouldn't. I already filed the fraud report. And the forged loan documents. They're in my lawyer's hands. If you don't come clean now, if you even think about touching my accounts again, you're going to jail. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Tell Mom and Dad, I added, that they're next. If they push this any further, I will not only sue, I'll go public. And trust me, I'll win. Jess finally backed up a step. Justin, please. But I didn't care anymore. I turned and walked out of that apartment without another word. Outside, the cool air hit my face like a slap. I stood by my car for a long time, hands gripping the roof, heart pounding in my chest. Not because I was scared, but because, for the first time in my life, I felt free. And this time, I wasn't playing along. I sat in my car for another full minute, engine off, staring at the dashboard as my parents' silver SUV gleamed in the fading sunlight. My heart was thudding in my chest, not out of fear, but out of sheer exhaustion. I was tired of always being the one they came to when they had a fire to put out, tired of being the backup plan for people who wouldn't lift a finger for me when it mattered. I finally stepped out of the car. Claire, my mom, was already standing on the porch, arms crossed, lips pursed like she was holding back a storm. Marshall, my dad, leaned against the hood of the SUV. Like he had all the time in the world. I walked right past them and unlocked my front door without a word. "Justin," my mom called after me. "Don't walk away." I didn't turn around. But of course, they followed me in. Once inside, I let the door close behind them and leaned against the kitchen counter. "Make it quick," I said flatly. "Don't talk to us like that," Dad said, frowning. "We're still your parents. And I'm still your son," I said, looking him dead in the eye. "A son you've manipulated, ignored, and guilt-tripped for years." "Justin," my mom jumped in, "this thing with Jess, she's spiraling. You scaring her like that didn't help." I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. I scared her. Not the loan sharks she borrowed from. Not the fact that she tried to break into my bank account. "That's on me now. She told us she didn't mean it that way," Mom said quickly. "She was desperate. She committed fraud," I said, voice rising now. "And instead of holding her accountable, you came here to scold me for not playing the savior. She's your sister, Justin." Dad finally raised his voice. "Family sticks together." "Then where was that energy when I needed help?" I asked. "When I was working 2 jobs just to get through school. When I begged you to co-sign my student loan and you said no because I had to learn responsibility. I learned, all right. I learned that in this family, I only matter when I'm fixing everyone else's mess." Mom opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "You didn't come here to listen. You came here to break me down. To wear me out until I gave in. But I'm not that kid anymore." They stood there in silence, caught between pride and disbelief. "I've already reported everything," I continued. "To the bank. To the police. If Jess or anyone else even thinks of touching my account again, I'll press full charges." "You would really do that to your own sister?" Mom whispered. "No," I said. "She did it to herself. You all did." I walked to the door and opened it wide. "Get out." Marshall hesitated, but Claire, always the last to let go, just stood there. "You've changed," she said bitterly. "No," I said, locking eyes with her. "You just never bothered to see me for who I really was." They left without another word. I stood behind the door for a moment after it clicked shut, breathing deeply. Not shaking, not second-guessing, just breathing. Was a threat or a gift? I tilted my head slightly and looked my mother in the eyes. "You mean the same holidays where I show up and get ignored while Jess opens gifts she didn't pay for? The same family gatherings where I'm the quiet one, doing dishes while she drinks wine and brags about handbags she bought with loan money?" My voice was calm, but every word carried years of swallowed resentment. Claire opened her mouth, probably to say something else delusional, but I kept going. "You want to cut me off?" I said. "Go ahead. You've been emotionally distant since I was 18. All you're doing now is making it official." My dad, still silent near the wall, looked away again. "I always thought," I said, now directing it at him, "that maybe you didn't speak up because you were neutral. But now I know better. You've just always picked silence over standing up to Mom." He flinched, but didn't argue. "You raised 2 kids," I continued, "but only one of us had to grow up. You coddled Jess and forced me to be the adult before I even graduated high school. And now you're angry because I finally stopped playing the role you wrote for me." Claire's hands were shaking now. "Justin, we're trying to hold this family together." "No, Mom," I said, voice firm. "You're trying to hold your fantasy together. The one where Jess never has to suffer, and I never get to rest." I walked to the door and opened it wide again. This time, no hesitation. I won't be guilted. I won't be threatened. I won't be robbed. And I sure as hell won't apologize for finally choosing myself. They stood frozen. "I love you both," I said honestly, "but I don't trust either of you anymore. And that matters more." Without another word, they left. That night, I lay on my couch in the dark, no TV, no music, just silence. And for once, it wasn't heavy. It didn't ache. It was peaceful. But it wasn't over. The next morning, Noah texted me. Yo, Jess is talking about suing you. Said she's going to claim emotional distress. She's serious. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, let her try, because now, I had a folder with bank records, text messages, audio recordings, forged loan documents, and a fraud report, all under Jess's name. She wanted war. She was going to get it. Time, it'll cost her everything. An official one, this time. Stamped, signed, delivered to my mailbox in a crisp white envelope. I stared at it for a long moment before even touching it, my name neatly typed on the front. No handwriting, no heart, just formality. I already knew what it was. Still, I opened it. And there it was in black and white, notice of intent to pursue legal action. Filed by Jess Clare claiming emotional distress, defamation of character, and unlawful threats against a family member. I almost laughed. Emotional distress. This from the same woman who forged my name on 2 financial documents, tried to hack into my bank account, and nearly got me tangled up with loan sharks. I flipped through the pages, barely reading the rest. It was obviously written by some half-baked lawyer willing to take a few $100s to bluff a lawsuit. But what shook me wasn't the threat, it was the fact that Jess was truly that far gone. She didn't just believe I owed her. She believed she could legally force me to pay. That night, I called my lawyer again. Jess filed a complaint. She asked, sounding unimpressed. Let me guess, emotional damage. Right on the nose, I said, pacing across my apartment. Well, she said, flipping papers in the background, lucky for us, we've got evidence stacked like bricks. Screenshots. Fraud reports. That voicemail where she admitted trying to access your account. That alone would crush this in court. What do we do? I asked. We counter. By the next morning, we'd filed a formal cease and desist. My lawyer also submitted the bank's fraud documentation and copies of my previous legal report regarding the forged loan documents. And just to be safe, we added a restraining order request. I was done playing. Later that week, Noah came by to drop off something and ended up staying for tea. He sat on my couch, shaking his head after I showed him the letter. She's really out here trying to sue you, he said. That's like, I don't even know what to call it. Desperate, I said, or delusional. Noah leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. You know they're all still talking, right? On the family chat, saying you've turned your back on blood. I didn't turn my back, I said. I finally turned away. There's a difference. He nodded slowly. It's about time, man. A few days later, another message came, not from Jess, not from Claire, but from an unknown number. I opened it cautiously. She's in trouble. Big trouble. Someone smashed her apartment windows last night. She's scared out of her mind. They said next time, it'll be her. No name. No explanation. Just that. I stared at the message, my hands tightening around the phone. For a moment, I felt it again, that old urge to step in. Fix it. Save her. But then I remembered everything. The lies. The threats. The theft. And I put the phone down. Because this time, it wasn't mine to fix. Yes, I can. And I have to, I said, holding the phone steady even though my hand was shaking. Being related to someone doesn't mean you have to keep letting them destroy your peace. Aunt Claire let out one of those long sighs that made her sound disappointed, like I had failed some invisible test. You're being dramatic. No, I replied firmly. I've just stopped allowing abuse to wear my last name. She didn't respond right away. I could hear her breathing through the phone, maybe trying to come up with a way to pull me back in. But I didn't give her the chance. I'm done, Aunt Claire. I just wanted you to hear it from me before they twisted it all. If you're calling to support me, great. If not, then I think we're done too. Click. I didn't even wait for her response. That was the first time in my entire life I ended a call on my terms. That night, after blocking a few more contacts and changing every major password I had, I just sat in my apartment and stared out the window. The street below was quiet. No more missed calls, no buzzing notifications, just stillness. I thought I'd feel empty. But instead, I felt light. Like I had finally dropped a 1,000-pound backpack I didn't even realize I'd been carrying since I was 18. But even after cutting them off, Jess still found ways to push. I got an email. Anonymous sender. No subject. Just one line. You're going to regret turning your back on your family. No signature. No name. Just pure bitterness typed into Times New Roman. My lawyer said it wasn't worth chasing, couldn't prove it was Jess or my parents. But I didn't need proof. I knew. A week passed. Then came the final blow. Noah texted me. Bro, Jess was arrested. I called him immediately. What happened? She tried to use someone else's identity to apply for another loan, Noah said. But they caught it early. Bank flagged it. Cops got involved. She's being charged with identity theft. I sat down slowly. I should have felt something. Shock. Sadness. Maybe relief. But I felt, still. This was never what I wanted. I never wanted her to fall this far. But this wasn't my fault. It was the result of years of everyone pretending she could do no wrong, and expecting me to be the safety net. That net was gone now. And so was my connection to all of them. I finally didn't have to pretend anymore. No fake smiles over dinner. No swallowing my feelings to keep the peace. No buying gifts for people who never saw my worth unless I came with money attached. That Christmas, I didn't decorate. I didn't travel. I didn't sit by my phone waiting for a message that never came. I made myself a quiet dinner, put on a movie, and let the quiet wash over me like a warm blanket. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I felt free. Then, in early January, Noah dropped by unexpectedly. I opened the door and saw him standing there with a half smile and a takeout bag. Brought you some suya, he said. You look like you haven't eaten today. I laughed and let him in. You're not wrong. We sat on the floor, plates in our laps like old times. But I could tell there was something on his mind. He was quiet for a while, then finally said, Don't be mad, but, I saw Savannah. I looked at him. He wasn't smiling anymore. She came by Mom's place. She looked rough. Like, really rough. Skinny, jittery, eyes all over the place. I think she's in deeper than anyone thought. I said nothing, just chewed slower. She asked about you, he continued. Wanted to know if you were still mad. I'm not mad, I said after a moment. I'm just done. She said she's going to rehab, Noah added, watching me closely. Don't know if it's real or just another lie, but... He trailed off. I sat back against the couch. I hope it's true, but it doesn't change anything. I know, he said. I just thought you'd want to know. I nodded slowly. I did, but I didn't know what to do with that information. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My phone screen glowed beside me, showing 0 new messages. No apologies. No real change. Just echoes. Weeks passed. I kept working, kept building my small life, piece by piece. I was doing more than just surviving now, I was living. I started saving up for my own cleaning business. A few clients had already started giving me referrals. I even got a website made. One day, after a job downtown, I stopped at a coffee shop on the way home. As I waited in line, someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned and froze. It was Claire, my mother. She looked older, tired. The usual sharpness in her eyes was dulled. She held her purse with both hands like a shield. Justin, she said softly. Can we talk? I stared at her. She gestured toward an empty table in the corner. Please. She sat across from me in that quiet corner of the coffee shop like a stranger. Claire, my mother, was dressed in her usual polished outfit, but the weight on her face told me she hadn't been sleeping well. Her eyes scanned mine like she was searching for the son she used to know, but I didn't flinch. I wasn't sure you'd sit down, she said carefully. I'm still not sure I should have, I replied, folding my arms. She nodded, like she knew she deserved that. I didn't come to argue, she said. I came because, I've been thinking about everything. What happened, what we said, what we did. I stayed quiet. She'd have to work for this. She sighed and looked out the window before turning back to me. Jess is in rehab now. It's court-ordered. She's not doing well, and I know we pushed you too far. I didn't realize how far we'd lost you until we couldn't reach you anymore. My stomach twisted, but I stayed steady. You didn't lose me when I walked away, I said. You lost me every time you chose her chaos over my peace. Claire flinched, her eyes welling up. You're right. Those two words caught me off guard. I blinked. I don't expect you to forgive me, she continued, her voice cracking. But I need you to know, I see it now. What we did to you. What we let Jess become. We made you feel like a tool instead of a son. I didn't say anything, because as much as I had dreamed of hearing those words, now that they were here, they didn't magically fix things. They didn't undo years of hurt. But they were a start. I'm not asking you to come back, she said, finally standing. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. For everything. She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded note, and placed it on the table. If you ever want to talk, on your terms. Then she left. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the note. I didn't open it, not yet. Because closure, I've learned, doesn't always come from someone else's apology. Sometimes, it comes when you choose peace and never look back. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride. If you've ever had to walk away from toxic family, know this, you're not alone. And you're not wrong for choosing peace. If this story hit home, share your thoughts in the comments. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that speak truth, no matter how messy.